The value of pre-owned electric cars is declining as the automotive sector undergoes a revolutionary change toward electrification. Rapid technical improvements and battery life issues are encouraging purchasers to choose newer, more advanced models. The motto, "Electrifying Tomorrow, Reshaping Today," highlights the dynamic forces at work, shaping the shifting value dynamics of pre-owned electric vehicles in this era of innovation. Let's have more of it. Following significant drops in used electric vehicle values in recent months, pricing analysts anticipate that they will reach a plateau in the second half of 2023. According to CAP HPI, several battery electric vehicle models have either stabilized or appear to be nearing a plateau. It does, however, state that a small number of used EVs remains weak and appear to have further to fall, with no common denominator or fundamental theme determining how particular ranges fare. Many EV models are now looking good value. Dylan Setterfield, head of forecast strategy at CAP HPI, explained, with trade values for the majority of models, where a comparison is possible, actually now below ICE equivalents. Setterfield believes there is potential for some improvement from their present used value proposition, but adds, "We assume further deflation in the future and have factored this into our forecasts." Meanwhile, he stated that there were some small positive adjustments for the handful of models who had suffered the most losses. According to newly published Auto Trader Retail Price Index statistics, June represented another month of declining pricing for used EVs, with the average retail value £31,430, down 19.1% year-on-year. It was the sixth month in a row that EV costs fell year-on-year, with average EV price falling by around £5,000 since January and nearly £9,500 since their peak in July of 2022. According to CAP HPI's research, more than a third of used car dealers, 36%, the market for used EVs has now stabilized. According to the July Startline used car tracker, 20% of dealers anticipate further losses in value of up to 10%, while the remaining 30% anticipate reductions of 10 to 20%. Furthermore, while 28% agree that the market has reached a plateau, 24% believe that customer demand for EVs remains limited. Only 8% are concerned about the rapidly increasing number of electric cars and vans that are likely to enter the second-hand market in the near future. The last year has been a turbulent one for used EV markets, said Paul Burgess, CEO of Startline Motor Finance, and many dealers have been left bruised by the reductions in values of stock that they have been holding. According to our analysis, the picture is now somewhat muddled. While more than a third believe that the situation has stabilized, a sizable proportion believes that more drops are to be expected, with some expecting considerable decreases. It's worth noting that very few people appear to be concerned about the large number of ex-company car EVs that will soon begin to appear in comparatively large quantities on the used market. These will represent a significant step up in volume, and there will need to be a corresponding increase in demand if values aren't to further suffer. Overall, the used automobile market is likely to be quite healthy in July, continuing along the lines of the strength shown thus far in 2023, albeit with the disparities noted by age, price point, and fuel type remaining. However, retail demand is likely to be restrained in the short term as the reality of the cost of living squeeze continues to be felt, and concerns about the impact of rising interest rates on mortgage prices remain. According to CAP HPI, used car prices are not generally correlated with GDP growth, partly because there is a significant element of core needs purchases, and also because reductions in consumer confidence and disposable income result in changes in used car buying, rather than preventing it. buyers may turn to older, smaller, or higher mileage cars, or turn to the used market instead of buying new. It is extremely hard to predict how retail demand will progress through the second half of 2023, especially given the complex economic situation. However, we still anticipate a gradual market correction over the next few months, rather than a mirrored drop from the previous high point. Increased utilized value on some models has effectively created a new market and may not return to previous levels. For many OEMs, new car supply challenges, particularly the semiconductor shortfall, will persist and vary frequently, although most manufacturers are now witnessing improvements in supply on several models, which CAP HPI expects to continue. There are still instances of derivative-specific effects with the same model range, as well as individual options that are difficult to get. According to Setterfield, from the second half of 2023 onwards, we expect to see the positive impact of reduced used car supply as a result of more than 2.36 million fewer cars registered through the course of the pandemic, particularly from fleets, now equivalent to a whole year's new car registrations in a normal market. According to Michelle Krebs, an executive analyst at Cox Automotive, around 300,000 electric vehicles were sold in the second quarter of this year, a record as new models with a wider price range were offered. Tesla has been lowering its prices in order to remain competitive, she claimed, citing the company's large inventory of unsold automobiles. Its pricing read, however, other manufacturer models, such as General Motors' Chevrolet Bolt EV, which sells for around $30,000, also contributed to the drop in average price, as the sticker price is extremely low for the industry. Furthermore, Hyundai and Kia reduced the cost of some models in order to qualify for the $7,500 EV tax credit provided by the Inflation Reduction Act. Auction contributed to the average cost falling to $53,438 in June, she added. Ford Motor also reduced the price of its F-150 Lightning EV pickup truck by $10,000, bringing the base model down to $50,000. According to Krebs, the manufacturer and dealer incentives for EVs are significantly more than those for ordinary gas automobiles. There is a lot of ways to incentivize, not just purely getting the price down at the dealership, she told me. However, these cars are still pricey, and they are not for everyone, according to Yoon. While smaller vehicles, such as the Chevrolet Bolt, are less expensive and qualify for the $7,500 tax credit, many car buyers choose SUVs, whether tiny or with 3 rows. EVs of that size are still very expensive, Yoon continued. We're not quite there yet in terms of having options across the board for everybody. According to Krebs, it's difficult to predict what these lower pricing on new EVs will mean in the long run, especially as more used ones become available. We've never had a used EV market. It's only beginning to develop, she went on to say. It may end up expanding the EV market by making EVs accessible and more affordable to people. We just don't know. This is all new territory. How do I go about buying a second-hand EV? There is a tax credit of up to $25,000 for old electric vehicles, but only a few have depreciated to cost less than that. Those vehicles are now 5 to 7 years old and belong to a different generation. To that end, experts advise used electric vehicle buyers to be vigilant about their battery life and utility. For example, whereas the most recent EV models get 250 to 400 miles per charge, second-hand EVs may only get 150 miles per charge. That's a huge kind of inconvenience that you also have to consider, Yoon added, noting that it can take up to 45 minutes to recharge. There is no established method for determining the value or longevity of a used EV battery, as there is for gas engines, and experts are unclear on what the long-term operating costs may be. While estimating battery life is difficult, make sure you conduct a test drive and get an expert examination. Because new and used electric vehicle prices remain expensive, here are 2 alternatives to consider if you want to switch to electric mobility. Considering plug-in hybrid vehicles is a great place to start, Yoon went on to say. You get all the benefits benefits of an electric vehicle without having to spend a fortune. He also mentioned that leasing an EV is an option to consider. The best thing you can do right now is leasing an EV if you have the money and means to do it. This is considered a loophole, since buyers can avoid restrictions that they would otherwise have had to satisfy in order to qualify for the $7,500 tax credit. And that's all for today. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. Until next time.